signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it. Scrooge's name was good for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was dead as a door. Scrooge never painted out Marley's name. There it stood, above the warehouse door, years afterwards. Scrooge and Marley. Oh, he was a tight-fisted hand on the grindstone, Scrooge. A wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, clenching, covetous old sinner. Secret, self-contained, solitary as an oyster, he edged his way along the crowded paths of life, urging all human sympathy to keep your distance. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. His door was open that he might keep an eye on his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who in a dismal little cell beyond, a sort of tank, was copying letters. It was freezing cold. Scrooge had a very small fire. Bob's fire was so small it looked like a single coal. He couldn't replenish it, for so soon as he went into the office where Scrooge kept the coal box, the master predicted that it would be necessary for them to part. So Bob put on his scarf, warmed himself at the candle, which endeavour, not being a man of great imagination, he failed. "Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" Scrooge's nephew Fred came in so quickly that this was the first Scrooge knew of his approach. He couldn't think of anything to say except, "Bah! Humbug!" "Christmas a humbug, Uncle? You don't mean that, surely?" "I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Oh, come, Uncle, don't be cross. What reason have you to be dismal? You're rich enough." "Merry Christmas. Out upon Merry Christmas." "Uncle, why don't you come to Christmas dinner with us tomorrow? We're having a party." I'm sorry to say that Scrooge's response to this invitation was to say that he'd rather go to hell. "Why, Uncle? Why? Why did you get married?" "Because I fell in love." "Because you fell in love? Well, good afternoon." "Nay, Uncle, you never came to see me before that. Why use it as an excuse for not coming now?" "But I want nothing from you. I seek nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?" "Good afternoon." "I'm determined to keep my Christmas humour to the end, so I wish you a Merry Christmas." "Well, there's another one," said Scrooge to himself, overhearing Bob wishing Fred a Merry Christmas. "My clerk, 15 shillings a week, and a wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to the madhouse." As Fred went out, a portly gentleman came in. Consulting a list, he said, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Do I have the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?" "Pleasure, you see, he'd never been to this office before." "Mr. Marley's been dead these 7 years ago. In fact, he died 7 years ago this very night." "Well, I'm sure his benevolence is well represented by his surviving partner." Indeed it was. "Benevolence? At this festive season, want is sorely felt, and some of us have got together to make up a fund to make some slight provision for the poor and the destitute. What shall I put you down for?" "Nothing." "You wish to remain anonymous?" "I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me my wish, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I have to support the prisons and the workhouses. They cost enough out of my taxes. If people are badly off, they must go there. But many cannot go there. Many would rather die. If they be like to die, they better do so. Decrease the surplus population. It's not my business. It's enough for a man to look after his own business and not go interfering in other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon. The gentleman left. Out in the freezing cold in the street, a ragged boy put his mouth to the keyhole of the front door of the office. He'd only got as far as the first words of a Christmas song. God rest merry gentlemen. And Scrooge seized the ruler with such energy that the boy fled down the street, leaving the keyhole to the fog and even more congenial frost. At last, the time came for closing up the counting house. I suppose you'll want all day tomorrow. If quite convenient, sir. It's not convenient and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown out of your wages, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'd be bound. Half a crown was 2 shillings and 6pence. There were 6 half-crowns and 15 shillings, so that was a day's wages. But you don't think me ill-used if I pay a day's wages for no work? It's only once a year, sir. Poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning. Bob promised he would. The office was closed up with a troop. Bob wrapped his scarf tightly around him, for he had no overcoat. Outside, he found that some boys had made a slide in the snow and ice on Cornhill. Bob went down it 20 times in honour of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home as hard as he could to Camden Town to play a blind man's buff. Scrooge took his usual melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers, even in 1843 when this book was written, to keep up with the news and read the newspapers was seen as a sign of oddness, something wrong. He beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book and walked home. Scrooge lived in chambers that had belonged to his deceased partner. They were a gloomy set of rooms in a building up a courtyard, which was otherwise let out as offices. He was the only one who lived there. It was very dark. Although he knew his way, he had to grope to find the front door. As his key was in the lock, all of a sudden he saw the knocker. It's not a knocker, but Marley's face. Bah! Humbug! Marley's face was not in impenetrable shadow like the rest of the objects in the yard. It gave off a dismal light like a bad lobster in a dark cellar. And though there was no breeze anywhere else, its hair was stirred by some unearthly wind. It stirred Scrooge as Marley used to, ghostly spectacles up on its ghostly forehead. As he looked at this phenomenon, there came a knocker again. He opened the door cautiously, looked behind, half expecting to see the back of Marley's head, but there was just a Scrooge that held the knocker in place. Bah! Humbug! Nevertheless, when he got to his rooms, Scrooge checked all of them carefully, finding everything empty and in order. Nobody under the bed. Nobody in the closet. Nobody in his dressing gown, which was hanging in a suspicious manner against the wall. As he sat before his mean little fire, his glance happened upon a disused bell in the corner of the room, and it was with astonishment and a strange, inexplicable dread that he saw the bell begin to swing, softly at first, so it scarcely made a sound, but soon it rang out loudly, and so did every bell in the house. These were bells that had been used years before to summon servants. He'd never heard any of them ringing before. This went on for a minute or half a minute. He didn't know. It seemed like an hour. They all fell silent at once. And there was a clanking noise from downstairs, as if some person was dragging a chain over the casks in the wine merchant's cellar. The cellar door flew open with a booming sound. The noise grew louder as it came up the stairs to his door. back, come back, and through his door, Marley's ghost, the very same, Marley in his usual waistcoat, his pigtail. The chain he pulled was clasped about his middle, and coiled around him like a tail. Scrooge could see it was made of ledgers, purses, safes, padlocks, keys, all made of steel. The body was transparent, so that looking at the waistcoat, he could see the two buttons on his coat behind. Although he looked through the phantom and felt the influence of its death-cold eyes, Scrooge was unbelieving, fought against his senses. "Come now, what do you want?" "Much." Marley's voice no doubt about it.
"Who are you?"
"Ask me who I was."
"Who were you then?"
"In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me. Why do you doubt the evidence of your senses?"
"Because a little thing makes them cheats. A slight upset of the stomach if you see things that aren't there. You could be a blob of beef, a lump of mustard, a fragment of an underdone potato, a piece of cheese. There's more gravy than the grave about you, whatever you are.
If I was to just swallow a toothpick, I could be persecuted for the rest of my days by a legion of goblins, all of my own creation. At this, the spirit raised such a howl, "Ah!" and swung its chain with such a dismal sound that Scrooge had to hold onto his chair to stop himself from falling into a swoon.
"Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?"
I do. Mercy, dreadful apparition, mercy. I must believe in you. But why? Why do spirits walk the earth? And why do they come to me?" "It is required of everyone," said the ghost, "that the spirit within should walk abroad and travel far and wide. And if it does not do so in life, it is condemned to do so after death, and witness what it might have shared on earth and turned to happiness, and now cannot."
"You are chained. Tell me why."
"I wear the chain I made myself. Of my own free will I made it, and of my own free will I put it on. Would you know the length and weight of the heavy chain that you carry? It was full as heavy and as long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have laboured on it since. It is a ponderous chain. My spirit never walked beyond the narrow confines of our counting house, and weary journeys lie before me."
"But you were always a good man of business, Jacob."
Business. Humanity was my business. The common welfare was my business. Mercy, forbearance, charity, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were just a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. My time grows short. Listen, I will, Jacob, but don't be flowery, don't be hard on me, Jacob, please. I am come to warn you that you have a chance and hope of avoiding my fate, a chance and hope of my procuring Ebenezer.
Thank you, Jacob. You were always a good friend to me.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope?
It is.
Thank you. I'd rather not.
Without their visitations, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, when the clock strikes 1. Expect the second the next night at the same hour, and the third when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more. The spirit moved backwards away from Scrooge towards the window, and without raising the window, out onto the night air. Looking out, Scrooge could see that the night was filled with spirits, all of them chained, all of them howling and moaning. The cause of their misery was clear.
They longed to interfere for good in human affairs and had lost the power forever. Jacob's voice joined in the mournful dirge, and he floated out upon the night air. Then the spirits and their song all faded away, and the night was as calm, quiet, and still as it had been when Scrooge walked home. Surprisingly enough, after all that, he got into bed and fell asleep. When he woke, it was so dark he could hardly distinguish the window from the walls. He peeped out from behind his bed curtains. People in those days had bed curtains to keep them warm at night, but you couldn't have a fire in the room. The clock on the church across the road struck the hour, 1. The deep, dull, hollow, melancholy sound. And as it died away, Scrooge's room was lit up by a supernatural light. His bed curtains were drawn aside, and he found himself face to face with an unearthly visitor. It looked like a child with the face of an old man, and it seemed that you were looking at it from a great distance, although it was right beside you. But most extraordinary of all, from the top of its head there shot a jet of pure light as if what illuminated his room. Under its arm it carried a cap, like a candle extinguisher. Scrooge thought it must use this to turn down the light in its dire moments. Are you the spirit who's coming, as foretold to me? I am. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past, your past. Arise and walk with me. They passed through the wall as if it were air, and found themselves in the busy streets of a bustling city. The ghost stopped before a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he recognised it. "Know it? I was an apprentice here." They went in, and Scrooge was amazed to see an old gentleman sitting at a high desk. "Why, it's Fezziwig! It's old Fezziwig alive again!" These are but shadows of things that have been. They have no awareness of us. Clock struck 7. Fezziwig put down his pen and called, "Yo, Ebenezer, we'll have no more work tonight. Clear away. Christmas party, Ebenezer. Christmas. Come on." Scrooge's younger self, a boy of about 15, bounded in, eager to please old Fezziwig, and in a few moments the warehouse was transformed into as bright, warm, cosy a ballroom as you could hope to see on a winter's night. The guests came in. In came a fiddler, climbed onto the high desk, and tuned like 50 stomach aches. In came Mrs. Fezziwig with a vast, substantial smile. In came the 3 Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came the 6 followers whose hearts they broke. In came all the young men and women who worked for the business. The spirits signalled to Scrooge to listen as they poured out their hearts in praise of Fezziwig. "He's done very little to deserve all this praise." "Little? Well, he's spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that such that he deserves all that they're saying about him?" "You don't understand," said Scrooge, talking now like his younger self, not his older. "You don't understand. He's our boss. He has the power to make our service at work burdensome or happy. I say his power lies in 1,000 looks and little words here and there. You can't add them up, count them, but it's worth more than if it cost a fortune." He felt the spirit's gaze upon him. "What is it?" said the spirit. "Nothing." "Something, I think. I would like to have a word with my clerk just now, that's all." The party began, and the spirit was amused to see how old Scrooge's legs seemed to remember the steps of the dances. He wanted to join in, just like a young Scrooge did. But the party faded away, the sounds died away. They
found themselves in a different place. The younger Scrooge, some years older now, his face bearing the marks of greed, not as badly as they did when he was very young. Signs were there. He was seated beside a young girl. In her eyes, tears sparkled from the light of the ghost of Christmas past. It matters little, she was saying, to you very little, but a new idol has replaced me. What idol has replaced you? A golden one. Ha! This is the even-handed dealing of the world. There is nothing it is so hard on as poverty, and yet nothing it seems to disdain so much as the pursuit of wealth. You fear the world too much. All your actions are designed to escape its reproaches. She reminded him of their engagement, entered into when they were both poor, and patient and willing to wait until their fortunes changed. If it were not for that, would you seek me out now? Me, a poor girl, without a dowry? Scrooge's younger self didn't answer, which was in itself an answer. You see, I release you for the love of him you once were. She handed him back his ring. And I hope that your new idol can cheer and comfort you in years to come, as I would have done. She walked away. The young Scrooge didn't try to follow her. Why do you show me these things? Why do you show me these things, Mary? Take me back. Take me home. I don't want to see any more. One shadow more. Now Scrooge and the ghost were in a drawing room. A young girl sat by a blazing winter fire. At first, Scrooge thought it was the girl from the previous vision, looked so like. But then he saw her mother sitting opposite her. Once his fiancée, now a comely matron. The girl jumped up to let her father in, who arrived laden with Christmas gifts, for it was Christmas Eve. Scrooge's eye grew very dim. The thought that such another creature, quite as fair and full of promise, might have called him father, and been the springtime and the haggard winter of his years. I saw an old friend of yours, said the husband. Who? Mr. Scrooge. I was passing his office on the way home. His blinds were not drawn. He was working away by candlelight. His partner lies on the point of death, I understand. And there was Scrooge, alone, all alone in the whole world. Oh, spirit, stop this! Stop this! You're torturing me! Stop it! Stop it! These are but shadows of former things. That they are what they are. Do not blame me. Scrooge grabbed the spirit's cap, pushed it down on its head, pushed and pushed. Its light went out, and he found himself pushing down on a bedpost. Turned over, fell into a troubled sleep. Waking, in the middle of a prodigious snore. He didn't have to be told that the sound that had woken was that of a bell striking one. Once again, his room was lit up. This time the source of the light was in the adjoining room. He got out of bed, opened the door carefully. Come in and know me better, said a deep, booming voice. He opened the door and looked into his room. It was his own room, not as he had ever seen it. The walls were decorated with holly and ivy. The room was filled with Christmas fare, presents and food. And there, seated on a throne made of Christmas presents, was a jolly giant. Come in, I am the ghost of Christmas present. He held up a glowing torch, which was the source of all this light. When I read this story first, I was 10 years old, and the only torch I had ever seen was a flashlight. I couldn't understand this bit. But of course he was holding up a torch like the Olympic torch. The ghost showed Scrooge all of London on Christmas morning. They saw people shoveling snow, having playful snowball fights,
running about, rushing to the shops for last-minute gifts and food. Sometimes they might jostle each other, and they might begin to quarrel. The ghost would sprinkle something from its torch over them, and they would smile and say, "Oh, it's a shame to quarrel on Christmas Day." Of course it was. "What is that you sprinkle from your torch?" "That is my own essence," said the spirit. They ended up at Bob Cratchit's house. The spirit took some of the essence from his torch and sprinkled it over the threshold. Think of that. Poor Bob. He only had 15 bob a week. Bob was the slang word for a shilling. On Saturdays he collected but 15 copies of his first name. And the ghost of Christmas present blessed his little dwelling. They went in, Scrooge and the ghost, assisted by Belinda, second of her daughters. Mrs. Cratchit was laying the table for Christmas dinner. It's in the way of the 1840s, I think, when this book was written, that poor Mrs. Cratchit doesn't get a first name. The whole of the story. Master Peter Cratchit was sitting by the fire, prodding a fork into a saucepan of potatoes that was boiling there. The two younger Cratchits were running around everywhere all at once, shouting and screaming. "Why, Mrs. Cratchit said, I wonder what's happened to your father and Tiny Tim. And our Martha wasn't as late last year by half an hour." "Here's Martha, mother," said a girl, speaking as she walked in. "Here's Martha, mother," yelled the little Cratchits. "Here's Martha, mother." "Ah, sit ye down by the fire and have a warm." "No, Martha, no, here's father coming, here's father. Hide, Martha, hide." So Martha hid behind the closet door, and in came Bob, his same suit he'd been wearing the day before, all brushed up to make it look as if he was wearing his best clothes. In fact, he was wearing his only suit of clothes. And his scarf around his neck. And on his shoulder, Tiny Tim. Alas for poor Tiny Tim. He carried a little crutch, and his limb was encased in an iron frame. "Why, where's our Martha?" said Bob. "Not coming." "Not coming? Not coming on Christmas Day?" Martha didn't like to see him disappointed even in the joke, so she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and put her arms around him. The little Cratchits grabbed Tiny Tim and took him away to the wash house that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper. And how was Tiny Tim? As good as gold, and better. He thinks the most curious things, sitting on his own so much. He told me on the way home that he hoped people saw him in church this morning, because it would be good for them to see him, a cripple, and be reminded of who it was that made lame beggars walk and blind men see. And I think he's getting better. He's getting better. He is getting better. So they laid the table and got food out for the Christmas dinner. The pudding was singing in the copper in the wash house, because that was where you washed your clothes. The woman had a copper bowl. She poured water into it and lit a fire underneath it, stirred the clothes around to wash them. But on Christmas morning, that was where she wrapped the pudding up in cloth and boiled it in the wash house. They have a goose as well, but this family is too poor to have a stove. Peter was prodding a fork into potatoes that were boiling over the living room fire. And the bakers didn't make bread on Christmas morning, but for a few pennies you could bring your bird to them and use their oven to cook your goose in. That's what this family had done. They all sat down. There never was such a goose. Oh, its taste and flavour, its size and cheapness were the subjects of universal praise all through the meal. Nobody was bad-mannered enough to suggest that it was a very small bird among so many people. But with potatoes and the applesauce, it made a sufficient meal for the whole family. And indeed, Mrs. Cratchit said at the end, looking at one tiny atom of a bone on the plate, they hadn't ate it all at last. So they cleared away. Mrs. Cratchit went on her own out of the wash-house, too nervous to have an audience, to unwrap the pudding, and emerged moments later with a pudding on a plate, a little cannonball, ablaze in half a quartern of ignited brandy, a sprig of holly on the top. Oh, it was a lovely pudding. It was the best she'd ever done, said Bob. As pudding, he said, was her greatest triumph since their marriage. Again, 1840s. And she'd had 6 children, but this Christmas pudding was the greatest thing she'd done since they were married. When they finished the pudding, cleared away again and sat around in a half circle around the fire that they might drink some toasts. They got out the family collection of glass, a couple of beakers, a tumbler, some mugs, several of which had handles. A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us, said Bob. God bless us, everyone, said Tiny Tim, last of all. Tell me, Spirit, said Scrooge, with interest he'd never shown before. Will Tiny Tim live? I see an empty chair by the fireside, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows are not altered by the future, the child will die. Oh, no, Spirit, no, just tell me he will live. Say he will live. If these shadows are not changed, no other Christmas will see him here. What of it, though? If he'd be like to die, he'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted back to him by the Spirit. He soon raised his head again and he heard his own name. Mr. Scrooge, said Bob, I give you the founder of the feast. Founder of the feast, indeed, said Mrs. Cratchit. He's an odious, stingy bully. Everyone knows it. You know it better than anyone, Bob. Oh, dear, the children, Christmas Day. I would drink his health for the sake of the day, and your sake, not for his own. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm sure he'll be very, very, very happy. She drank the toast, so did they all, and it was first of their proceedings that had no part in it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The very mention of his name cast a pall over their party. It was not dispelled for a full 5 minutes. But after that they were merrier than they'd been before. But the Spirit led Scrooge away to his nephew's house, where they watched as he and his wife and his friends had a scrumptious tea. And then they had music. They were a talented bunch. They sang songs individually and in parts. There was a harpist and a pianist. And then they started playing games. They played children's games, although they were all grown up, because it was Christmas. They played forfeits. They played blind man's buff. And Scrooge got very involved in that game. The Spirit smiled as Scrooge said to him, Look at that man. That man's not properly blindfolded. He always catches the same girl. Look, he can see where she is. He won't catch anybody else. He's cheating. And indeed he was. Then there was a game called Yes and No. Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the others had to find out what it was, just by asking questions that were answered yes or no. Fred found this game very funny. All the questions he'd established as an animal. It lived in London. It wasn't led about the streets. It didn't live in a zoo. It didn't live in a circus. It wasn't a bear or a lion or a tiger. It growled sometimes, it spoke sometimes. It wasn't a dog or a cat. It wasn't killed in the market. I've got it, said his wife. I've got it. I know what it is, Fred. What is it? It's your Uncle Scrooge. Indeed it was. Some of the guests objected that saying no to the question, is it a bear, had set them thinking on the wrong lines. But they accepted it. All of a sudden, Scrooge found himself in darkness somewhere else. He looked about for the ghost and saw it not. Somewhere a clock struck 12, and as the last note ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley. out. He saw coming towards him along the ground like a mist, a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, shrouded in a deep black garment that concealed its form, its limbs, its head, its face, everything but one outstretched finger. I fear you more than any other spirit, but I know you are here for my good. I will go with you. I will go with you. City seemed to spring up among them. They found themselves at the Exchange, a place where businessmen met. Well-known place to Scrooge. He saw some businessmen that he knew walking up and down, jangling coins in their pockets, looking at their watches, being important. The spirit stopped before a group. I only know he's dead. He died last night, I believe. Who has he left his money to? I don't know. He didn't leave it to me, anyway. It's likely to be a very small funeral. Why don't we make up a party and go? Well, I'll go if I'm fed. I must have lunch if I go. Well, I'm not interested in lunch because I never eat lunch. I'd go if anyone else would. Do you know it? I think I was his best friend because we used to say hello every time we passed each other. So we couldn't understand why the spirit would attach such importance to this conversation. It couldn't be about Jacob because that was in the past and this was the ghost of the future. It followed the spirit as it left the financial district and went into an area of London that he had never been to. Although he knew its fearsome reputation, the streets became alleys. The alleys became lanes. The lanes became just spaces between houses. The place reeked of poverty and crime. Right in the centre of this den of ill resort, there was a little second-hand shop where an old man sat by a charcoal fire, surrounded by the goods that he dealt in, bones, bottles, old rags, secrets that few would like to know were exchanged here. As the ghost and Scrooge entered, so did a woman carrying a heavy bundle. She threw at his feet. Come in and sit down. You were made free of this place long ago. What have you got here? What's this? What's this? Bed curtains. His bed curtains. Well, who else's? If he wanted to hang on to things like that, why wasn't he more natural in his life? He'd have had people around him when he died, not croaking out his last all alone. You mean you took them down, rings and all, with him lying there? You were made to make your fortune, and you'll certainly do it. Joe, don't get oil on those blankets. His blankets? Well, who else's? He's not going to get cold without them, is he? Didn't die of anything catching, did he? I'm not going to take a chance like that. No, he didn't. No. You can look through that shirt till your eyes are sore, but you'll never find a hole or a threadbare place or a patch. That's the best he had. And they were going to waste it. What do you mean a wasting of it? Putting it on him to be buried in. Somebody was fool enough to do it. I took it off, and if calico's not good enough for that, it's not good enough for anything. He can't look uglier than he did in that one. Oh, Spirit, take me away. This is horrible. I can see that this man's fate might be my own. My life tends to that way now, but I'm resolved to be different. I'm resolved to change. I found myself suddenly in a room, standing before a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which there lay something which, though dumb, announced itself in awful tones. The spirit pointed to the head, and Scrooge could see that just the slightest movement of his finger would show the face of this dead person. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't move his fingers. I know what you want me to do, Spirit, and I would do it, but I can't. I've lost no power. Please, show me some emotion connected with this death. He found himself in a different place. A poor room. Some children sat at a table. They looked hungry. And a woman was pacing up and down, obviously waiting for somebody.
Her husband came in. What's the news? Is it good or bad? Bad. Oh, we are quite ruined. We are ruined. No, there is hope yet, Caroline. Hope. There is hope if he relents. That would be a miracle. No, he is past relenting. He's dead. Oh, she was a kind and gentle creature. And she was thankful in her heart to hear this, and she showed it with clasped hands. She was sorry the next moment, refreshed with the emotion of her heart. To whom will our debt be transferred? I don't know, but by then we'll have the money. And even if we don't, it would be bad luck indeed if we had another creditor as cruel as him. We may sleep easy tonight, Caroline. Oh, thank heavens, thank heaven. Oh, Spirit, show me some tenderness connected with death. Found themselves outside Bob Cratchit's house. They went in. It was very quiet, very quiet. The youngest Cratchits sat their arms around each other on a chair by the fire. Young Peter was reading from the Bible. Mrs. Cratchit and the girls were doing some needlework. Mrs. Cratchit went down at work and wiped her eyes. The colour hurts my eyes. Colour. Poor tiny Tim. I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he gets home, not for all the world. He's late. I think he'll walk more slowly these past few days. She took a deep breath and, in a firm voice that only faltered once, she said, I've known him walk with Tiny Tim on his shoulder, very fast indeed. Very fast, but poor Tim was so light and his father loved him so much. There was no trouble at all. Bob came in, praised the work that they'd been doing, and said, and we'll be well finished by Sunday. Sunday, Bob, you went there today. I did, yes, I wish you could have seen it. It's such a green and pleasant place. But you will see it often. I told him, promised that we would walk there on Sundays. Now, children, he said, I know that whatever the future holds, we will not ever forget this first parting that there was among us. And I hope that if we ever come to quarrelling, that we will remember Tim and how patient and kind he was, and never quarrel among ourselves. Never, Father, never. I'm very happy, said Tim, very happy. Once again, Scrooge and the ghost found themselves outside the city again. Spirit, my place of business is over there. I long to see what I will look like in future times. I promised myself that I would be different. The Spirit pointed onwards. My place of business is over there. Can we not go there? The Spirit pointed onwards to a churchyard. Churchyard in the middle of the city, surrounded by houses, full of weeds and weeds. A horrible place, dead vegetation, full of too much burying. The Spirit pointed downwards at a gravestone. I am to learn the name of the man we saw dead. Tell me, Spirit, are these the things that will happen, or that might happen only? I will change, I will be a different man. The Spirit never spoke, just pointed downwards. Scrooge read him down. Brushed away some vegetation from the grave and saw his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh no, Spirit, no, say it's not, say I'll be different. He grabbed hold of the Spirit's arm. No, he struggled and found that the arm of the Spirit shrank, dwindled, and became a bedpost. The bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best of all, the time before him was his own to make amends in. Oh, Jacob, heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this. Oh, thank you, Jacob, thank you. I will be a different man. I will honour Christmas in my heart, past, present, and future. The curtains, they're not torn down, rings and all. Oh, there's the room where the ghost of Christmas he pushed up the window. A young boy dressed in his Sunday clothes had wandered into the courtyard. Boy, what day is it today? What day is it? What?
What day is it, boy? It's Christmas Day. Oh, it's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Of course they can. They can do anything they like. They can do anything they like, you know. What? Boy, you know the poulterers in the next street? Have they sold the prize turkey? No, it's hanging there now. Go and buy it. What? Go and buy it. Bring the man back with it and I'll give you a shilling. Bring him back within 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's. He won't know who it's from. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Scrooge shaved, which was difficult because he was dancing up and down while he did it. He dressed himself in his best clothes. And if it was 2025, he might have put some tinsel on his hat. But I'm sure he didn't. He was 43. And he went out on Christmas morning and saw all the kinds of things that he'd seen with the ghost. And he looked so happy that several people said, "Good morning, Merry Christmas," and smiled at him. That was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. That people would say good morning to him, just because he looked so pleasant, cheerful. Then coming towards him, he saw the man who'd been collecting the day before at his office. It hurt his heart to think of what that man's opinion of him must be. He knew what he had to do, and he did it. He went straight up to the man, shook his hand and said, "Thank you for what you did yesterday. It was very kind of you, very good. I hope you were successful." "Mr. Scrooge, that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. But would you have the goodness," and here he whispered in the man's ear, "What? That much?" "That much, and not a farthing less. I assure you, a great many back payments are included in that amount. And come and see me. We shall work together." I will. Scrooge walked about the city and smiling, wishing Merry Christmas to people. Ended up in the street where his nephew. He walked past the door 10 times before he finally plucked up his courage, made a run, and knocked. The maidservant opened the door. "Merry Christmas to you. Is your master at home?" "Yes, sir, I'll show you in." "No, you didn't show me in. I know where he is." He went to the dining room door, put his head around. "That's my soup. This," said Fred. It's I. It's your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in?" Let him in? It's a wonder he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes, and there was a great party, just like the party he'd seen with the ghost. The book doesn't actually say, but I presume they didn't play that game of yes and no, where he was the subject. But great though the party was, he was home early, in bed, and up early the next morning. He'd set his heart on being first at the office, and he was. He was. 9 o'clock, no Bob. 1:15, no Bob. Bob was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. His hat was off, his scarf also. Before he came in the door, he was sitting down, writing away as if he'd overtake 9 o'clock. "What do you mean by coming in at this hour?" said Scrooge, in his normal voice, as much as he could fake it. "I'm sorry, sir, it won't happen again. I was making rather nervous yesterday, sir." "Indeed, it won't happen again. I won't tolerate this kind of thing any longer. Come here, sir." Bob went into his office. "No, I won't tolerate it any longer, and so I'm going to raise your salary." And he poked Bob in the waistcoat so hard that Bob fell back into his own room. He made some move to grab the ruler. He thought of hitting Scrooge over the head and calling for a straitjacket. Scrooge went on, voice clearly sincere. "A Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas than I've given you for many's a year. I will raise your salary, and I'll try to help your family. And we'll discuss your future this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of punch. Now build up the fires, Bob, and go and buy yourself a coal scuttle before you dot another I." Scrooge was as good as his word, and better. To Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father, and he was as good a man, as good a master, as good a friend as any good old city, or in any good old city, town or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the change in him, but he no longer feared the reproaches of the world, and he let them laugh. It was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive did. And that be said of us, and of all of us. And as Tiny Tim said, God bless us, every one. Thank you for listening. Thank you for practicing my show. If you liked it, please leave a review, and it helps. Tell your friends. Thank you for being an attentive audience. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your fringe. Thank you, Rob. I should get to applaud you, shouldn't I?
I feel that way.
I thought it went well.
Yeah, it was rather good one, wasn't it?